in terms of the budget is pretty much the same, I think, as last time. And we've only done a couple of things. Number one is the ongoing $30 a month to advertise the farmers market in neighbors. And then I bought the pollinator buttons, which we can talk about later, but that was for $164.50. So we have a lot of money left. I just wanted to put that out, and we will talk about the pollinator buttons later on. And so is anyone, yeah, Pam, you were at the Tremco.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How did that go?
It went really well. We got a lot of it done, but we had to stop because we were kind of, we had been at it a couple hours, and, you know, we left off some more to do, but not much. We got most of it finished. It was great.
Okay. Yeah. So it probably isn't going to take another couple hours to finish.
No, I don't think so. No way.
So one of the things we can do when Steve comes is schedule another finishing off the trail. Okay. With the farmers market, just wanted everybody to know that we're extending the market because Amy, who has the meat BZB vendor, she has, obviously her meat isn't affected by whether it's winter or summer or whatever. So she's going to be there through November 22nd, as is Julie and Todd at Barton Farms, because they also have a lot of produce, and I think more so now because things have continued to grow. So they'll be there 3 Sundays in November, which is usually very different because for the past several years, we've ended at the end of October. We don't know if other vendors may join. The hot sauce guy might come for 1 or 2. And we're hoping the young woman who sells soap will also come at one point, because once it gets November, people are starting to think about buying holiday gifts and everything. So soap might be a good thing.
The cheese lady said she'd be there too.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I asked her.
Okay, Kelly. So Kelly will be there. Yeah, yep. She has the cheese and the marinade kind of things and jellies and stuff. Great. So that's a bonus for us. And apparently the market has done pretty well. It slowed down a little bit, but that's usual for this time of year. But it seems to be going pretty well. So that should carry us through. And so then I really just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the whole pollinator pathway. And I do have these buttons. I think, Christine, you already have your button, right?
I do. I got 2 from the Pollinator Pathway group.
Yeah. Maybe you could just share with everybody what you did and joined, and show if you do have the button available.
I do, actually. So here they are.
They're beautiful.
They're cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it has 2 little holes, so I guess you can maybe thread wire through it or something.
Well, what I did is I just put it on a stake, and I just tapped in a couple of nails.
Oh, yeah.
Or that screw it on. Or you can put it on any sort of sign if you know. You can also get around, I know at hardware stores or nursery kinds of things, they have those wires, and it will probably fit in a wire there, and you could just snap it in there too.
Right. Anyway, they're cute. Yeah, so I registered my field. I have a, I don't know, 2 or 3 acre field at the bottom of my land right off Perry Hill Road. And it was a hay field that I had been mowing every year. And I decided to stop mowing it. And this year was the 3rd year I hadn't mowed, I think. And it was just a gorgeous meadow of mostly goldenrod, but also primroses and some thistles and some lots of asters, purple and white, and all these different kinds of, and then beautiful clump grasses. And it was just gorgeous. So I also actually had someone come with a walk behind bush hog sort of thing and make a loop path all the way around the field. And it's just so amazing when I walk down on the path, it's like being in another world because the goldenrod's so high, you know? It's beautiful. And then I had another little path on the other side of the driveway is this little tiny meadow. But there's a rare old, probably a couple 100-year-old American elm in the white pine grove. And it's healthy and it's prospering and it's gorgeous and it's huge. It's like probably, I don't know, at least 2 foot diameter, maybe more.
Wow.
It's gorgeous. So anyway, that path goes over towards there, and it doesn't go to the tree because the tree's sort of in rocks and ravine kind of, so it's not accessible, but you can get close enough to look at it. So anyway, that's what I've done with my meadow. So I've looked up a lot of information about how to keep meadows, and I'm probably not going to do as much as they say to kind of plant more different kinds of things. I mean, I think I've got some nice diversity, and goldenrod's a spectacular plant for wildlife. But
excuse me, can I just break in?
Yeah.
Steve sent an email.
I got it, and I sent him a reply.
You got it too?
I did.
Okay.
Is he having trouble?
Yeah, he got
he's
the
there.
PDF.
He's on.
Oh, he is.
Unmute. Steve, welcome.
Sorry, Christine.
So, but one of the things that I discovered is that I can mow a third of it at a time, a third each year. So I can still leave a lot of the standing stems for insects to overwinter in, and cover for deer and other animals and stuff. So I'll do a third of a time mowing every year, and that way I also had somebody come in and actually clip all the autumn olive and roses, so by hand. There weren't that many. Most of them were right under the power line. It's interesting. So anyway, it's just this beautiful meadow, and I'm in love with it. So it's it should be on the pollinator pathway. I did register it there.
That's great. That's great, Christina. I think at some point maybe you could write up something about that in the Conservation Commission news that I put out every month.
I will. It's on my list, Loretta.
But we don't need to do it. I mean, winter's coming and people aren't going to be thinking much about gardens. Right. They're just thinking about COVID. But maybe come spring, we can do that, because I'd like to. We have about 50 of the buttons that I co-purchased them to get a better rate with Joshua's Trust. So Joshua's Trust and ourselves are trying to really publicize all this and get people to sign on and think about, creating more environmentally friendly gardens and leaving some grass alone and all that. So I don't know. I was thinking maybe at some point we could do some sort of a program, maybe even on Zoom or something. I don't know, depending on what happens with Corona in the spring, about how to do that. Or maybe we could just have you talk about what you did. And I know Marion Matthews created a pollinator garden at the town hall.
Right.
As you enter at Knowlton Hall, as you enter into Knowlton Hall, it's on the right there. So I need to get her little button. I sent her an email if she wanted one. And you and she might be able to just present a brief program about what to do and stimulate interest. I don't know other ways to stimulate interest. And I also, if any of you know people who are interested in having the gardens, maybe we could, hand out some of these buttons to people so that it can be more widespread around town. And then people might get curious about, oh, what is that? Oh, that kind of thing.
Another thing is in the spring or even in the winter sometime, we could people could come and take a little walk. through my
Right.
meadow-
I was
through my
hoping
meadow.
you'd say
Great.
that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see it.
You know, it's a nice wide path and it's a big field and it's in 34 acres. So
That sounds wonderful. I just want to say about 5 years ago, the Ashford Garden Club discussed this actual pollinator pathways and how to register for it. And everyone thought it was so difficult. So it would be great if you could tell your story. And I have a question. How large a garden does it have to be? Like if someone had mainly woodland and only a small area for
it
pollinator.
doesn't have to be big. If you go to
There's no size limit.
pollinatorpathways.org, check it out.
It doesn't matter, just as long as you've done something like plant native plants.
Right.
Then that's a pollinator's garden from their perspective.
Yep.
If you don't mow
Right.
certain things, and yes, Christine hasn't mowed it, but I mean, it doesn't need to be a big thing because the idea is that you have little stops all along the way for the insects to be able to stop and get nourished
And birds.
and
Goldenrod is
hummingbirds.
wicked good for bird seeds.
Right.
So
Right.
the other thing is I have gathered a few documents about doing meadows. Some of them are very complicated. Some of them are easier, but there are pieces of stuff in all of them. So, you know, I could pull together those links into a document.
Great.
Yeah. That might also be something at some point, maybe during the winter, we could put that on our news thing and say, you know, if you wanted to find out more, you could go here.
Right.
Or we could even just put the whole put part of it in the Citizen, because I think it's something that most people in Ashford would be interested in.
You know, I've actually seen a couple of unmown fields that haven't been unmown before. So, you know, like on, which is it, on Zychek Road, there's that big field just before it hits Perry Hill Road. And it looks like whoever owns that doesn't really mows the edges near the road, but hasn't mowed the insides. And there are lots of milkweeds and other things. And I think that used to be a hayfield too. So, you know, I think there are others around here, which is neat, but I don't think anybody knows about them necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a two-pronged attack, because I think Joshua's Trust is also going to try and do all that. And Gwen, do you know who would be the best person to contact on the Garden Club to let them know that we have, for instance, the buttons and we're interested in doing?
I mean, I'll ask Sue Harkness because Deb Gag has stepped down as president. We don't have a president right now. There are a few different people, but it's a big group and we're always adding people. I'll just ask Sue Harkness and see.
Or Catherine Edson.
That's right, my next door neighbor. I could ask Catherine Edson. She's a relatively new member, but she's very involved because she's retired now.
Right.
Okay.
She does stuff.
She does. She gets it done.
She does.
Yeah, okay, well, that's good, because I think if they know that we're also involved, it might, you know, be a good way to connect with them. Well, Marion's also on the Garden Club, I believe.
She's really involved in this, the pollinator gardens.
Yeah, because Mary and I had talked about talking with the guy at the post office about having a pollinator's garden there in front of the post office where he has all those flowers.
Yeah.
You know, that might be neat. Like one side could be a pollinator garden, you know, sort of like on either side of the post office. So that was another thing that we thought that would be a great show place. Or
even, you know what, I was at the post office and his garden's adorable, but you know, the kind of median between the post office parking lot and the road?
Yeah.
A big empty space. I mean, how cool would it be to have native plants there?
Right.
You know, it's just plain grass right now.
Right. That might be something that the Garden Club might want to help do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the Ashford Historical Society is open to any plantings in front of the old Tremco house.
Oh, okay.
When I spoke to them, they were like, fine, whatever you want to do there, be my guest. But, some of the members are too old to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I spoke to the president and she's in support of this.
Joan is still the president?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wow. Well, those are great ideas. I appreciate it because I think this is a really exciting thing that we can do. And maybe at some point involve the school too.
Yeah.
Since, Steve made a good contact with the school around the trees this past year. So maybe we can do more of that. So the next thing on the agenda under new business is clean up your streets. And we have scheduled 2 pickups of 2 weekends, which is on the town website. And I think Pam has put it on Ashford Community Connections.
I have, right, Pam? A couple times.
Mm-hmm. Have you had any replies at all from people?
No, not so far. I'm just, I don't know if anyone's going to show up or not. I think a lot of people might want to do their own streets, but I'm going to put another posting again tomorrow to remind people we'll be there Saturday and to let us know what roads they're going to do so we can arrange pickup of the trash bags.
Right. So for other people who might not be aware, we've scheduled 2 weekends. One is this coming weekend, and then the other is the 7th and 8th, I believe it is.
Let's see. The other was, yes, 7th and 8th.
7th and 8th. And for those of you who run into people, you can let them know that we'll be at the town hall both of those weekends from 8:45 to 8:15. And Pam has bags, and she also has vests for people to use. And she's going to have a big container there that after they finish, they can bring them back, and then she'll sanitize them and everything so that we can reuse them. So that let people know that they don't have to necessarily get their own bags, even that we have plenty of bags for them. And so hopefully.
And I've got the grabber sticks.
And the grabber sticks too.
They were really cheap. I hope people will return them, but if they don't, it's not going to be an enormous loss. I think they were like $3 a piece, but we'll see whether they bring them back or not.
Well, if a lot of people come and pick them up, you can, would they be able to fit in the container?
Yeah, it's going to be a big enough tub. They can just toss everything in.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that should work. So hopefully all of you can just help spread the word about that and just talking to people. And that should really help in terms of getting people going. I know my experience is that most people like to do their own roads, and oftentimes people do it and they don't tell me right when they're doing it, but later on they say, oh yeah, on that day I did my road, kind of thing. So I think usually my experience is that there are more people than we know offhand that are doing stuff. Did you incidentally?
There's a lot of leaves down on the ground. It's going to be hard to see.
Yeah.
We're going to have to poke around a little bit to find stuff. That's why I think the grabber sticks will be good because they don't have to touch anything.
Yeah, I noticed at the beginning of trailheads, all different trailheads, there are masks on the ground. Yeah, you don't want to touch
no.
everywhere. And I've seen them at every town, and I've seen Ashford, the trailhead, like along Boston Hollow. When you go to look at the kiosk, you see the dead masks on the ground that are too disgusting to touch. And then you wish that you had the equipment with you driving trailhead to pick it up.
Right.
Wow. Jeez. Huh.
I don't know if it's intentional. I mean, they just could fall off their ear. They tried to take it off when they get to the end of the hike. I don't know. They can't get it in their car. I don't understand what it is.
I don't think it has to be somewhat intentional if there's all these masks. One mask you could understand, but a whole lot, it's like, wait a minute, someone's not even caring or not thinking at all about the environment or not thinking about the beautiful walk they just went on.
Yeah.
you know. It might be interesting the next time I talk with Joshua's Trust people to add, like with Michael or Kaylin, to see if, you know, other people have complained about it or what they're doing to, you know, kind of stimulate people's thinking, like make sure you leave the trail as you found it. I would hope that that could happen.
Take
you
your
know.
mask with you.
Well, I've seen it in both heavy use areas like Pekin Mountain in Massachusetts, and you're getting thousands of people there within a month. And I mean, the parking lot's filled, but I'm also seeing it places that are sparsely used. I'm seeing a mask near a kiosk where it isn't as heavily used.
Yeah. Well, it's just an ongoing devastating issue that everybody is talking about. And I think part of it is because a lot of people who don't usually go out into the woods have done that because of the virus and everything. And so they're not really thinking, they're not even thinking about that. This is not a state area where people come in and clean it up and everything, you know? So I think there needs to be more campaigns about that. And I know usually Last Green Valley has some funding available for cleanup campaigns, and maybe come spring, that might be a good time to push and get a little bit more publicity and stuff on it for us. So Steve, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, earlier just, you know, so I'm sorry about all the confusion with all this. Part of it was that Cheryl was away, and before she went away, she put the agenda on the website, and I didn't realize that she had done, I didn't think she did it. And then I found out Tuesday, and I thought when I sent that link that she had sent to me, that at the bottom would be the link to get you to the town hall.
Well, there are two links. There are two notices, and it was in the second one. You'd think it'd be in chronological order because it's,
Right.
but it's not. And, you know, my suggestion would be once you get it, send the link out in an email.
Yeah.
Then people don't have to go to the web. You know, there are fewer dependencies then.
Right.
Right. Right. The problem was I couldn't do that. I couldn't get that link to translate. So that was why I sent her link, because I thought you'd be able to do it. But anyway, the next time she'll be there, and so she can, you know, send me the email, and then I just send it on to you, which is what I believe I did last time. So then you all had it with no trouble.
Yeah.
So anyway, earlier we talked about our painting of the trail and everything.
Oh, good.
Just wondering, should we try and plan something before the winter of finishing it off? Because Pam said,
You know, I got busy this week, so I couldn't do it so far. But you know, tomorrow I think is going to be a nice day, so maybe I'll go tomorrow. If I go, I could send a note in the morning and say, you know, hey, I'm going over there. Somebody wants to join, that's fine. We don't have that much left to do. There's a few things to sort of clean up on what we did, and then do essentially the high end of the trail. So, and I've got bigger paint brushes and more paint this time, so I think I should be able to finish it off in one pass.
Does anyone have any interest right now and know they might be around tomorrow if Steve goes? Okay, we'll just send the email out, and if
when I'm gonna do it. So
is the trail are there any trees down or anything that you know?
yeah, that's another thing. I've got to haul a chainsaw in there and do a little chainsaw work. So
What
did
color
you hear
did
from Terry at all? Because he's usually eager to do stuff like that. So I just wondered.
Yeah, I can send him an email. Yeah, I was going to save that up. That's, you know, it's not my favorite thing to do. It's carry my chainsaw for a long distance.
Sure. Well, I get that.
Yeah.
Steve, what color did you paint the blazes?
White. Yeah, Terry's Blazes are yellow, and when we hit their trail, we painted white underneath their markers. So it's just, a reflection. We're subservient to their trail, literally. And I think that's pretty clear, from looking at it. But, we need some documentation at the trailhead to sort of inform people that there's, they run concurrently for a little while.
Collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Well, we can get that once it's all completed. Then I think it would be helpful, like you did with Langheimer, to create a little map of that.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah,
we can do all that as the year goes on. There's no rush on that, but that's what we can plan. So that'll be fine. And thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I expect to finish the marking no later than sometime next week. Unless it's raining. Actually, it's supposed to rain early on. So why don't I say 2 weeks? What's that, Bill?
Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. I think it rains.
Yeah.
Okay, so well, I'm sure there's not that much left to get done, and you can do it, and so that should be fine. Does anyone else have any other business?
Oh, just a note, Steve. So John Siebel was telling me that the Rankin Trail, there's this kind of unmarked little thing they might be doing a little spur to that's like a throne that you can overlook the whole valley from.
Like a toilet seat?
Sort of.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but it is like a throne where you can sit and look way out. It's a rock formation.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's above. It's kind of high on the Rankin property, and it would be a little. I think they're talking about putting a little spur to get people there, even though some people didn't wanted to make it hidden, but I think they're going to make it unhidden.
That's interesting because on the Rankin property, my recollection is that it's very wooded, and I don't remember many views. But
well, you have to go up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've been on the whole thing, I think. Yeah. But maybe there's something.
Well, it's not on the trail; it's above the trail.
Off the trail.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why they might put a little spur off the trail up to it.
Okay. Is it where trees have been cleared or something?
I don't know. I was just
okay. Yeah, we'll find out.
John's one of the stewards there, so.
Okay, well, if nobody has anything else, I think.
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Eastern Connecticut Conservation District has completed projects in Ashford recently. I don't know if I guess maybe you know these updates about the dumpster pads to protect the river, and pet walking stations, and we have 2 rain gardens now at Perry Hill Estates. The river was impaired there, and
right.
Gunk was getting into the river, and then there were all these remediation efforts that we just completed.
Right.
We just had a Zoom meeting last night, and it was discussed that it was completed.
Yes, thank you, Gwen, because you reminded me. I hope everybody got the compact thing that I had sent to everybody that Catherine will sign.
Sounds good.
Pledging, pretty much the same thing that was in the initial compact. I don't know, that may have been, maybe 10 years ago. So it's really essentially just pledging to keep our waterways clean, which I don't think anyone would object to. And Jeffrey, who's planning and zoning chair, said it would be a good document to include in the update of the APOC when we review it again. So that's just something that'll coming down. But I thought that was very considerate of her to email the Inland Wetlands Chair, Planning and Zoning, and conservation and say, is there anything that you would object to if I signed this? So, you know, it sounds like she's really wanting to work together. What's going to happen is there's going to be an election in February because she and Bill couldn't agree on it being okay for her to be the first selectman. He feels that it shouldn't be a few people deciding, that it needs to be a town decision, even though Catherine was elected as select person in the last election last year. So there's going to be an election to elect the first selectman in February, and then there'll be the regular election in November of that year. So it's just another election that we're going to have to deal with, and another expense for the town and all that.
So Loretta, there are 3 selectmen or people, right?
Right.
And there's a vacancy. So how do they figure out who's the first select person?
That's the point. You see, what the first way is to get the remaining 2 to get together and agree. Generally speaking, it's the select man or woman of the same party.
I see.
But so that's why they got together and tried to come up with an agreement on that. And when that doesn't happen, they have to go a certain amount of time, which may be 30 days or 45 days or something. And then the chair, the elector, the head of the registrar of voters for the party that the person left would be the Democrats. Lauren and Catherine got together and they elected Catherine, so to speak. So that's why Bill is saying it really wasn't a town vote, which it wasn't, except it was in that Catherine got more votes in the election than Bill did. So.
Okay. So that's how they figured it out. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's all very carefully delineated out according to, and you have to wait a certain amount of time, blah, 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 and do all that stuff. So what will happen is you'll be starting to hear about elections after, I would think, at the new year. You know, they'll be pushing and now I don't know whether they're going to put up a candidate. No, they probably won't for this election. Because yes, you're right in that they need another selectman. So that will happen at some point. And I don't know if it's going to be voting for first selectman and another selectman in the February meeting, which that may be what's going to happen.
That would be confusing to a lot of people, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole thing is very confusing, and, you know, so much is going on at the town hall now in that, you know, of course, Bev died. So as far as I know, I don't think they found a replacement yet for her. So you've got that going on, and Ralph leaving wasn't a planned event. And so that's another thing. So and in addition to all the craziness about the COVID. So it's kind of like a hard time. And apparently Karen Zulik, one of the clerks, was away out of state. So now she has to quarantine for 2 weeks. So right in the middle of when the clerks are getting all these absentee ballots, they're sharing by herself. So Lauren Olson, the registrar, was deputized to work at the town clerk, helping with the ballots, sorting them out, because I mean, I would think they're probably getting a lot of ballots, absentee ballots.
Yeah.
So it's a rather interesting time for everybody, including the town hall. And so this is.
Well, thank you for explaining why it first said they were co-selectmen, and then there was first selectman a few weeks later.
Well, they were in that interim period, when really nobody kind of knew what was going on in terms of who is our first selectman, because there's a lot of signing of grant money and funding and all that has to be done by the select person. So there was that sort of like crazy time. And I believe Catherine was retiring sometime in September. So she was waiting to take on full duties until her retirement. I think it was midway in September. I'm not quite sure on that date, but anyway, September was her retirement time. So that was also going on. So it was rather confusing. I think it's coming together a little bit more now, but it's still, you know, these kinds of things are going on. So that's all I know about life and times in Ashford in 2020. So we are done. So I thank you all for being patient. I apologize. It won't happen again next time, but these are the product of people not knowing much like me about Zoom. So bear with me. It all worked out anyway. So we're cool.
Get used to it.
Yeah, really, exactly.
It actually is. It's actually a really super cool technology. So
yeah, I know it is, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, it really is.
Right. Okay, so signing off. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Enjoy the debate.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.